Alright, so we have the R behind me. I think it's time to actually bring up something that I've always wanted to do. I did it with the GTI. I think it was like the 5 initial mods that you should kind of do. Now this is going to be primarily performance oriented with kind of a little bit of like aesthetic-y stuff, but we're going to mostly just focus on what's going to make this car faster, drive better, and just be more enjoyable on the road. Kind of to start us off, one of the first things you really want to consider when modifying your Golf R, GTI, you name it, lowering springs. Now I went with VWR lowering springs. It's a very conservative low. It's not like slammed by any means. These cars are pretty low from factory, but this does help remove a lot of the gap. So I'm pretty happy with this, and I don't think I would ever consider lowering it even more down the road. I think these springs are plenty fine. Plus, I don't have to worry about even really baconing my fenders at all, especially if I ran kind of a wheel spacer, because as you guys can see, I can still get one finger in there, and it still has enough clearance, which is something that I personally find for my driving style nice. We also get snow here, as you guys can see in the rear, kind of same story. It's very nice low, and I'm quite pleased with it. So I'm going to say lowering springs are a great first kind of intro mod. Drops your car, lowers the center of gravity, so around corners it's super planted, eliminates kind of that really bad body roll, and it just overall makes your car just drive more like a race car. And that's something that, even with this slight drop, it still drives noticeably better. So I'm very happy with these lowering springs. All right, so on to the next thing. Now this is a bit of an opinionated video, I know, but I love it. I recommend it to anyone. A valved exhaust. Now I personally went with Remus. You could do Miltech, ECS, I'm pretty sure has one, AWE, X-Force. There's so many different options. And of course I went with Remus. A valved exhaust is so important if you're kind of if you want to wake up your car, make the experience a lot more enjoyable. You probably won't be unleashing and unlocking more horsepower. It's going to be kind of that same feel, especially when it comes to driving. But one of the things I will say too, I went with a non-resonated option. So this thing, when it shifts, you feel the DSG shifts much better now, and that already is just something I would totally consider. It's an awesome feel, and plus it sounds really good. The DSG burps, it has kind of little sputters and crackles. It's quite an experience, and I highly recommend anyone who's looking, definitely check out Remus. There's plenty of other options, but personally I went with Remus just because they have a really nice exhaust. This is a full 3-inch exhaust. It's valved, it uses the factory valves, and that's just one of the things you should consider, because this car does come with factory valve system, and I want to be able to retain that function, so I went with Remus, which is just a plug and play. Can't beat that. Alright, so now we're at the front of the car again. I can't show you guys this because it's way beneath the car, but it's a torque gusset bar. I got it from TB Performance. They are pretty much the only ones making it for a lot of these platforms, and they make it for a lot of Ford Focus, Fiesta. They're now into Golfs. They have a wide variety of kind of outreach, and I'll show you kind of a little clip of what it looks like, but it really helps lock in this thing, especially when it comes to launching. They have other braces as well, but I only have the gusset bar, and I can tell you from already one launch that this thing hooks, and it doesn't, no more wheel spin. It's really planted, especially with more power. I mean, a lot of people are wondering why you'd even, because these cars don't necessarily suffer from wheel hop. Once you go to more power, you're gonna want to stiffen this thing up and add more bracing, and so that's one of the things. I'm kind of just prepping for more power down the line, and already from just the standard stage 1 tune, I'm seeing a huge improvement. So I highly recommend it for especially my front wheel drive viewers, and if you're a Golf R owner and you want to give it more power, or if you just want to improve it from where it is now, I highly recommend checking out a gusset bar, because it does really improve your launching. All right, on to the next one. This one's a little bit unusual, and actually let's jump to the other side of the car, because I feel like we're only showing our driver's side. But guys, the next one, this one's a little bit unusual for me to bring up, because I'm not necessarily running what I would consider a sporty tire. This thing is not at its full potential right now when it comes to just grip. you know, launching is perfectly fine, especially with the brace, but I will say when it comes to cornering and just general, you know, stickiness around really any corner. I'm on an all-season tire. I left my my sport tire behind because they just didn't last very long. These have a higher tread wear, so I bought these primarily just for long-term use. But as far as performance driving, they're pretty fine. The DWS 06s, they're of course Continental. It's a pretty solid tire, but one of my concerns is, you know, it has a little bit more comfort, and that's, you know, for most people that's a great thing. You know, comfort is nice to have. But you know, once I put these on, they took up bumps better, and being a more softer sidewall because they are of course all seasons, it doesn't necessarily corner like it used to. This used to feel like it was on rails, and for a Golf to feel that way, you know, that's pretty cool. Now that it's lowered, it's definitely improved, but I definitely will say the a super high importance mod would be tires, especially for my GTI watchers, and you know, you guys probably are eating up tires if you don't have that grip. So you know, definitely a performance tire is something I would highly consider, just because it's going to, you know, corner better, you know, it'll accelerate better, and I do like these tires. They're pretty solid for all seasons, but I do miss having a performance tire, and that's one thing that I will consider going into next car season. You know, we'll get through the winter on these, but we'll probably source some new wheels, new tires, and we'll make this thing an absolute animal. Now on to the final mod. You guys are probably expecting to see this one and hear about this one, but a Stage 1 and Plus tune. You know, I was always on the fence about tuning my car because of the warranty being a super solid factory warranty, but there's just too much potential with these cars, and they're such a good build. I mean, the MQB platform has been out for a long time now, you know, 2015, and you know, being the final year for the Golf R, of course. I just was about to say GTI, but final year for Golf R. You know, they probably by now have solved a lot of the issues, and you know, knock on wood, I haven't had any issues up till now. So loving my Golf R, and I trust it. I trust the performance, so that's why I went with an integrated engineering Stage 1 tune, and that's pretty much going to be the start of the true power out of this car. I'm going to just go with my Stage 1 tune for now, but we'll be seeing Stage 2 and maybe even Stage 3 down the road, and that also maybe will include flex fuel. So you know, time will tell on that, but I'm pretty stoked to start getting into the real performance of this car. It has endless potential, and I'm in love with it. It's so much fun, especially with this tune. You know, it's once it's on boost, it's just absolutely insane. So yeah, I'm really loving it, and I highly recommend anyone to check out Integrated Engineering. If you guys have any questions about IE, be sure to reach out to me or even their team. They're always, you know, they'll be there to answer any questions. And yeah, I'm super in love with this car. Hopefully I touched on a lot of things that you guys have done or you're considering, because they're easily some of the best intro mods. Of course, you know, I haven't done too much of this car. I left out some other things, like mostly aesthetic stuff. OBD11, that's another thing that's nice to have. Simply because you can turn off Sound Actor and, you know, make your drive a little bit more better that way. But yeah, I highly recommend all the things that I mentioned in this video. Of course, you don't have to do exactly what I did. You know, there's many opportunities. There's many lowering springs, many exhausts. I will say I've been in the game for a super long time, and I know the solid companies to follow, and I'm going to say, like, everything mentioned in this video, in my opinion, is the best you can get. So be sure to check out everything I mentioned. I'll have all the links in the description below. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching and supporting me, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.